Hello, and welcome to our Fairtrade webinar series produced by SFU Fairtrade. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of why Fairtrade emerged, what Fairtrade is, what it means, and how exactly it all works. Welcome to Fairtrade 101. There has been marked progress on reducing poverty over the past few decades. The world attained the first Millennium Development Goal target to cut the 1990 poverty rate in half, 5 years ahead of schedule in 2010. But there's still more work to be done. According to the World Bank, 767 million of the world's population still lives on less than $1.90 a day. A large population of the global poor live in rural areas and lack access to education. They're mostly employed in the agricultural sector, and over half are under the age of 18. Fairtrade International started in 1987 to work towards breaking down trade systems to bring more equity to those living in impoverished conditions and producing one of our greatest needs: food. Let's take a look at this map of poverty distribution globally. It's a pretty common knowledge that poverty is most concentrated in areas in the global south. See where the red is darkest. But now let's take a look at the banana industry. Where in the world are bananas grown? Okay, what about the tea industry? And the cocoa industry? The point is pretty clear. Many of the imported foods we eat that can't be grown here are produced in some of the most impoverished countries in the world. That means that every time we go to the store to buy these products, or even go to a friend's and are offered a snack, we are directly connected to the livelihoods of the farmers who grow them. And directly is the right word for this. When you purchase a chocolate bar and other consumers just like you purchase that same chocolate bar, you are sending a signal to the market that there is a demand for the product. You're telling retailers, wholesalers, exporters, importers, producers, and buyers that you want to consume that chocolate bar in particular, and you're willing to pay for it. Similarly, when you buy a product without understanding where it came from or what social and environmental costs it took to get to you, you're sending a similar message to the supply chain. You're saying that those costs don't matter to you as a consumer. You're willing to buy this chocolate bar regardless of these external costs. And so the supply chain can continue to operate as it always has, without consequences. Here is a pretty famous example of what happens when we neglect to fully understand the going-ons of our supply chains. This is footage by the New York Times of the Rana Plaza collapse in 2013. Rana Plaza was a garment factory in Bangladesh that collapsed due to poor building foundation and unsafe conditions. Over 400 people died in this disaster, and their deaths were all preventable. The images are powerful, emotional, and communicate the hard truth about conventional supply chains. After Rana Plaza, the companies involved in the disaster promised to pick up their act. But in reality, driving sweeping change across the system is quite complicated. Conventional supply chains are so long and complex that transparency can often seem impossible to achieve. Rana Plaza is just one of the types of realities that we are trying to prevent through fair trade systems. Fair trade shortens and simplifies supply chains and brings producers closer to consumers. Today, the most established, recognized, and trusted fair trade symbol looks like this. There are also other fair trade certification systems that go by different sets of standards. In terms of the Fairtrade International symbol, you can find it on products like these. Under the Fairtrade International system, fair trade works under 3 pillars to empower producers and make supply chains more fair: fair prices and working conditions, empowering communities, and environmental protection. The first part of this is minimum prices. Minimum prices are a price floor that are put on fair trade products to give producers a safety net and ensure that they're protected if ever the market price for their product goes down. Here we see a graph of an example of cocoa prices. The turquoise line represents the fair trade price, and the blue line represents the conventional market price. You can see at times when the blue line went significantly low, the market price of cocoa was really hurting. During these times, the fair trade minimum price came into effect, and fair trade producers, instead of receiving the lower market price, actually received the price at the turquoise line. But you can also see that the fair trade price also works with the market price when prices are favorable. During times when the market price rose, the fair trade price rose too. Labor and environmental standards are also enforced through third-party auditing. FlowCert is an auditor that ensures that producers are meeting fair trade standards, and they're visited annually. Premiums are what set fair trade apart from other programs and make trade fair. Premiums go back to producers to support resilient communities, and communities use these funds to invest back into their people using democratic decision making that really benefits everyone. These premiums go into all sorts of projects, like scholarships, health programs, community gardens, and clean water access for communities. These standards are enforced by the Fairtrade International certification only. Other organizations also have reputable and vigorous systems, but it's important to recognize that not everything that is labeled fair trade is actually fair. Watch out for words like fairly traded, fair trade, ethical trading, and others. And when you see these words, ask questions to the retailer. Are they certified by anyone? If not, who do they work with? Who are their producers? Do they know them personally? Can they tell you their names? Thank you for joining us for our Fair Trade 101. If you have any more questions or want to know more information about fair trade, please see our other videos in our archive. And welcome to the movement.